What is mental health stigma and how to deal with it? As more people experience a downturn in their mental health, society is becoming more prepared to meet our demands. The stigma around mental illness and seeking treatment yet endures. Mental illness is one of the most prevalent medical diseases in the United States, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. Over 50% of adults in the United States will require mental health care at some point in their lives. Additionally, 1 in 25 people are currently coping with a serious mental disease, such as a major depressive disorder, an eating disorder, bipolar disorder, or post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. According to a national poll, 4.7% of American adults report commonly having sorrow or depressive symptoms, while 11.2% of all adults report feeling some sort of worry, uneasiness, or anxiety on a regular basis. Given the prevalence of mental health problems, it is astonishing and even counterintuitive how much stigma still lingers in society. For instance, a survey found that most Americans support those who are dealing with mental illness so they can have regular lives and be around people who can aid in their recovery. People with mental health conditions should not be excluded from society, according to the respondents. According to the survey, most individuals do not think that people with mental illnesses are particularly violent or dangerous. However, over half of survey participants stated they would not welcome a mental health facility into their community, and 2/3 of respondents thought there was still a lot of stigma associated with mental illness. Explore the stigma around mental health, its consequences, and what individuals can do to combat it by reading on. Mental health stigma. When people with mental illnesses or those who seek treatment for emotional discomfort, such as anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, or PTSD, are stigmatized by society, it is said to be a mental health stigma. Family, friends, co-workers, and society at large can all exert pressure on people due to the stigma associated with mental illness. Groups have the power to politicize stigma. It may make it more difficult for those who are suffering from mental illness to seek support, integrate into society, and live happy and comfortable lives. Stereotypes, which are frequently untrue, unfavorable, and hurtful depictions of entire groups of people, can contribute to the stigma around mental health. They enable a person to quickly assess others based on a few defining traits, and then they generalize their conclusions to include everyone in that group. For instance, stereotypes about folks who have depression or anxiety sometimes portray them as sluggish or cowardly. Many people worry about being called crazy for merely seeking therapy support. All of these stereotypes are inaccurate, hurtful, and prevent individuals from receiving the care they require. None of them are true. The idea that people with mental illness are violent or dangerous is one that has been politicized frequently. A limited percentage of those who suffer from mental illness do, nevertheless, engage in violent behavior. They are a vulnerable group that we should be protecting rather than frightening because they are 10 times more likely to become victims of a crime. Effects of stigma surrounding mental health. Nearly 9 out of 10 people with a mental illness feel stigma and discrimination negatively affect their life, according to the Mental Health Foundation. They also claim that people with mental health issues have among the lowest rates of employment, long-term relationships, decent housing, and social inclusion of any group of people with a chronic illness or disability. The stigma associated with having a mental health problem can exacerbate symptoms and make recovery more difficult. Living with stigma may also make a person less likely to seek treatment. Stigma may not always be visibly displayed or articulated through grand gestures. It might manifest itself through the language people use to describe mental illnesses or those who have them. It can be upsetting for people to hear cruel, insulting, or dismissive language used in this way. They may feel isolated and as though no one can relate to what they are going through as a result. How to fight against the mental health stigma. Since most stigma stems from ignorance and unfounded fear, public education to enhance awareness of mental illness is essential. When learning that a friend, family member, or co-worker is coping with a mental illness, it is crucial to check trustworthy sources of information on mental health issues and gain more knowledge. A person with a mental disorder can actively participate in their treatment on an individual basis. If they believe that stigma affects their capacity to deal with day-to-day situations like job, housing, or healthcare, they might also think about hiring an advocate. An advocate is a qualified professional who offers support to those going through housing issues, financial claims, medical appointments, and job disputes. They stand up for the rights of others who might lack the power or information to do so on their own. Conclusion: it is difficult to overcome the complicated and well-documented problem of stigma. There are, however, actions that a person who is dealing with mental health stigma can do, like locating an advocate who can help them with professional and financial concerns. By telling their stories, they can also help others better understand mental health issues by educating others. Everyone can help reduce stigma associated with mental illness, which is important. People should educate themselves on mental health concerns so they can better understand how these disorders affect those who live with them. They can assist in debunking widely held myths and stereotypes in both themselves and others by doing this. We can remove the stigma associated with mental illness by education and awareness, and those who are already experiencing stigma can get support.